So I guess this is what the movie is going to be like. Hi.
Hi.
If it looks like we just cried for 9 years, it's because we just cried for 2 hours.
We're the kind of saps who cry at movies. Me, specifically. I fucking cried during Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
And everybody knows my infamous cry is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. We just saw Life Itself, and it wasn't what we were expecting, I don't think.
I contemplated how I would say that because in a way I didn't know what to expect because what you're given in the trailer is very minimal in terms of plot.
Right.
And what you're given in the trailer really only focuses on the first half an hour of the movie.
And
So
I think it focuses on that first half hour in a kind of misleading way as to what it
yes,
is.
It does.
Um,
So I would say, and I knew that the guys that do This Is Us were doing this movie, or I think the guy that wrote this movie.
yeah.
So I did expect to get some sort of, we're all connected in a way, and this is sad, and tragedy connects people, and things like that. But there were so many other things going on that I just wasn't anticipating.
Right. If you look at the trailer, it looks like it's going to play like a rom-com that has a larger meaning. And in some ways,
Yeah, kind
it
of
is
almost
that.
like a Crazy Stupid Love, or like even like one of those silly like Valentine's
Right.
Day kind of movies, like something like that, but like a little more serious, a little less kitschy.
Right.
That's what I guess that's what it comes off as, at least in the trailers, but it's not not that.
And I'm gonna try to spoil as little as possible. So when it started, I'm thinking it's gonna be, which is not what the trailer is, this really cool like breakup comedy, it's sort of like 500 Days of Summer, but a little bit less romanticized.
You have hope in the beginning of the movie. I think that's one of the best ways I can describe it. You have hope in the beginning of the movie that things are going to turn out good and people are going to be happy and that life is going to go the good way for these characters.
Right.
But you slowly start figuring out, especially about 30 minutes into the film, I want to say,
There's
that
a big...
it's not
Right.
it's not that at all.
Well, it eases you in with a lot of humor and a
Right.
lot of, oh, this is fun and this is stylish and then I'm not going to say what happens, but there's a really big gut punch right in the middle of this movie.
And then there's another one right after.
Whether or not that's effective, it seems to be the question, though.
Rather than talk about plot, let's talk about
What it made us feel.
Right.
I have not seen a movie recently that has made me feel as many things as this movie did. Unfortunately, most of those things, fortunately or unfortunately, I mean, the point was to make me sad, and it made me very, very sad. And I don't think that it really delivered on being uplifting at the end. It tried to be, but it was too little too late.
Yeah, I think it punched you in the face for about 2 hours, and then at the end, when you expect it to give you an ice pack, I think it just slaps you instead.
Right.
Which isn't as bad as a punch, but it don't feel good.
No. Thing is, that's life.
Went on Reddit, and I was reading a couple of reviews. I read too many reviews. And it seems as though the general consensus is that people do not like this movie. They feel that the story is convoluted, that the emotions that you're trying to feel are forced and very much like a TV commercial.
Right.
And I think that is unfair in a way.
I agree.
I think that it's, if we could go and be entertained and be mindlessly entertained by the same stupid movies over and over and over again, when you get a movie that I feel tries to do something a little bit different,
There's something to be said for that.
right? you know, if you watch This Is Us, you'll understand, I feel, because that show does a really good job of making you connect to people through their stories, and then showing you how your original idea of a person doesn't always end up being your final idea about
Right.
that person, that you see all the things that go into making them who they are. And like, I feel like a lot of people had an issue with that in the reviews, and it's just like they just didn't want to bother, you know, hearing stories, or the stories weren't believable enough. But it's like,
It's a movie, man.
all art is derived from life. Like, you know,
Right.
somebody wrote this because they've experienced things like this, or know people who have experienced things like this. So it's really not totally far-fetched to have shitty things happen in life. I think a lot of people have a lot of shitty things happen to them in life.
Room of 10 people, 5 of them have had tragedy or something really bad happen.
Right.
But there's your 50-50 split. And I think the claim that this movie is making is that every single person has this huge, life-altering tragedy, which is true to an extent, but it's about as true as when Hollywood tells us, no, there are happy endings in life as well, and, you know, things work out and there are heroes. Both of these statements are somewhat true, but I don't think you can make the claim that one is more false than the other, because I think it's a broad generalization to say that either one are universally true.
What I found most interesting, I think, about this movie is its ability, or at least the intention, to make you see how many different sides there can be of one story.
Right.
Whoever is telling you the story, whether it be the person who lived it, somebody who was there, or, you know, a bystander, you can't always believe what you're hearing.
What it is.
At the end of the day, you can't always rely on life to give you all the right answers either. The point that I got is everybody's just kind of stumbling along.
I'm just floating.
And we're just floating, and we really don't have a lot of control over what's going to happen. All we can do is kind of take those experiences and roll with them.
I don't like to look at what other people say before I, review a movie, but I glanced this time because it ended and I was kind of in shell shock. And I think the biggest thing people are saying is that it didn't feel genuine to them, and I gotta disagree. The notion that you have no control and shit happens, that's about as genuine as it gets. There's nobody who doesn't agree with that.
And I think that they did a good job of trying to make this couple very much like modern day couples now. Because we related to them on like multiple levels, and that really was the draw, I think, for us in the beginning of this movie, was how relatable we felt that it was. So I don't understand how people can really get so down on a movie that tries to be relatable and tries to evoke emotion from familiarity. I think that this movie wanted to give you people that you could have known, or people that you think yourself to be like, or, situations that you found yourself in. And I don't think that saying, oh, this movie's dog shit is fair, because what is so wrong about that?
I don't think this movie's dog shit. I see where the missteps are. But the thing is, and I'm gonna get on my soapbox here a little bit, but filmmaking is art, and it's about the most relevant form of art that is left, bar music,
and the most one of the most easily conveyed.
Right. The thing about art is that it's not always universally relatable, and the point is to make you think and to make you stop and consider something. And a big part of making people consider something and to stop and to think is to be experimental and to change how you're doing things. And I don't think that I can knock somebody for doing that. It takes characters who we stick with for a while, and then we change to another character, and then another. And it's different stories, and depending on which story you're in, you could be really invested. We were really invested in the first story. I don't think anything else did it for me, except that we kept going back to that. I would give this movie... This is a B.
I was also going to give it a B. So I think that that's a pretty fair grading.
When it started, it was an A+ for me.
Yeah, I felt like you specifically were very invested and relative to the main character,
Right.
because I felt a bit of myself in both of them, and I've definitely saw a bit of you in both of them. So I think, had we gotten the entire story of just the first two characters, really, for 2 hours, I probably would have given it an A.
Yeah, I agree.
I think once we moved off of them, though I understand why in the grand scheme of the movie, I think once we moved off of them, I lost the relatability.
Right.
And then I just felt like I was introduced to more characters I did not like. Everybody watches a movie that they know is going to end poorly and thinks to themselves completely unrealistically, maybe this time it won't happen that way.
Right.
And I think that when you get to the end of this movie and you see them again, it almost kind of gives you that feeling like we're ending it where these two people were happy and together and in love, and maybe they stay that way, even though the story has clearly told us otherwise. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cry during our review, but that's at least how I felt at the end.
That about sums it up.
Thanks for watching Ride Home Reviews. Thanks for watching me cry.
We're gonna go home and cry some more.
Yeah, and then cry ourselves to sleep. I love you.
I love you. Good night.